Okay, wholeness to everyone.
Wholeness.
What we're going to do is we're going to go back to where we kind of left off yesterday afternoon. Now, everybody check the email. They've got the notes. I've sent them out to everybody. Markel, I miss you. Maybe Eitai can hit it to you because I couldn't remember the first name, so I miss you. But you know,
Okay, I'll be sure to get it to you.
Okay. So we're going to pick up, if you got the notes handy, you're going to pick up on page 2, where we come off of the explanations and definitions of the word system. Okay? The word system. And we're showing here how the concept of a system is relative to the concept of the whole, and how wholeness is part of a system that we need to understand the magnitude of this term that we keep using: wholeness, oneness, unity, singularity, etc. So we're going to pick up with the definition system. It says an assemblage or combination of things or parts forming a complex or unitary whole. So when we begin to look at systems of the world in terms of social, political, economic, etc., we see that it's not a part of the original concept of a system that we, in our perfection or in our oneness and unity and wholeness and divinity of a people, you can see how valuable the information or the knowledge or the wisdom was in terms of creating systems that we know can be, and we know can be, a major contribution to all of humanity. So we look at the next word, it says system, the world or the universe. So we see that the system, is tied to a world or universe of things being unified in oneness. Hold on a minute, please.
Sure.
Getting on. So we see that the universe and the system that we must manifest on the planet Earth has to be in line with, I'll be brought back into precise adjustment, a correct relative position with it. If we're not brought back into precise adjustment, a correct relative position, we are out of line and out of sync with the universal order of wholeness. We move to the next point. We say the concept of male and female of Genesis 1 and 27 have to be integrated / critically tied or in connection to Genesis 1:16 and Daniel 12 and 3 in order to understand this concept. These terms, male and female in English, reveal that they are derivative of one another. How could they be? How could they derive from one another in one language and not in another? Now, what we're saying there if we're saying that male and female are derivatives of one another, then if we went into Hebrew or any other language, it would have to what? Have a relative relationship. Except someone was, using a particular language to deviate from that derivative relationship or that unity of relationship. So we go to Genesis 1:16 and it reads, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. Now this is what we're going to use, the stars, and connect the stars to this universal order and life cycle that we see going to produce some profound revelations in respect to who we are. Many times you hear the stars are out tonight in terms of musicians. That usually is when we talk about the stars, we usually connect them to musicians. But then we say all stars in the various sports.
Okay.
But never think in terms of those stars being really, anything that has to do with us, except it's in a particular role, at a particular time. So this was a real profound revelation that our ancestors and ancient fathers and Emo gave unto us. Verse 27 of the first chapter. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created him, male and female created he them. Then we go to Genesis 5:2-3. And here we find, we'll make the connection here. Genesis, the 5th chapter, verse 2 says, male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. Verse 3. And Adam lived 130 years and begot sons in his own likeness and after his image, called his name Seth. Then we go to Daniel 12:3.
Okay.
And we make the connection. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament. And they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and forever. Now, this word righteousness, I always like to, move it out of the traditional religious connotation, because then you get into duality, righteousness and unrighteousness. So I always like to use the word righteousness in terms of wholeness, because that keeps everything unified.
And I see.
But because we into this duality, because of our emanation into these lower realms of earth plane, we don't really understand how you can talk about a relationship to creation without it being righteous. All the unrighteous are the people, that's not in some kind of religious belief. And there where we makes our major, error. But let's go back to the stars.
Not say.
Pick up the next.
But I just want to put a bookmark. Excellent high point there. If you could not say, just repeat what you just said about the point that you just made about righteousness. This is so important. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was saying is that throughout the scriptures, because of our religious experience in our emanation into the earth plane, we had to go through this simulated reality because it had to be that which was perfect in order for us to what? See the flaw that occur in our behavior,
Okay.
not in someone else's behavior,
Right.
under a religious term called righteousness. Now we, all of our life, we tried to be right.
Okay.
But ain't nothing changed for us if we say we're righteous and everybody else is unrighteous. Why are we catching so much hell? Except it's a perfect plan. And if we move it out of righteousness from this religious connotation and into wholeness, and then understand how to, ascend into that, merge back into that unity of marriage, then we'll see the power that we really, really was bequeathed.
Excellent high point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolute.
Continue. The concept of the stars in these verses refers to the Hebraic language, which is concrete language and meaning. Concrete in language and meaning. If I said a hat or a house, I can mean that. I'm not talking metaphorical. This is important for us now. Okay? So, this is what happened in our decline and devolution. The Euro-Gentiles had this particular time bequeathed to them while we go through this process, and we refer to it as the aberrant man. He took this idea of everything being concrete, and he then began to redefine things through his rationalistic way, of educating everybody, and gave us something in opposition to abstract. So we could never see ourselves as being anything that was relative to anything, because he gave us an abstract idea, which is viewing things not through the senses, not utilizing your 5 sense organs to determine, to discern, or detect, but gave you what is called a mind. And this mind, has haunted us and all humanity since its inception.
That's right.
So we continue on. We said, the stars in the verses refer to the Hebrew language, which is concrete language and meaning. The word stars in the verse are kava or kava. Strong's Concordance 3554, meaning a primitive root to prick or penetrate, hence to blister, as smarting or eating into, burn. So now we remember reading the scripture say, I beheld Satan as lightning or a star fall from heaven. But now let's go back and look at the stars that we just read about. And we see now that stars are far beyond those literal stars, but we are the literal stars.
That's right.
When we understand what a star represents and how it functions within the creation. Continuing on, the concept of Zahar, 2145 Strong's translate as male, means to remember as a memorial of remembrance, and the word Nechiva, 5347 Strong translate female, or Nehev, Nachav, to puncture literally, to perforate with more or less violence, or figuratively to specify, designate, libel, appoint, blaspheme, bore, curse, express with hosts, name, pierce, strike through. Now, let's put this in perspective so we can understand. It's interesting that I want us to what? Understand here that when we look at the Zachar or the masculine energy here, we only see two definitions basically given. But we find 1, 2, 3, about 7 or 8 given to the feminine. Very important.
Very important.
These concepts, translated as male and female, must be removed from the idea of man and woman as a historical event taking place on the earth's physical realm. The only way to truly understand the above concept is to place it into the energetic or spiritual realm of higher enlightened knowledge. The activity taking place that simplifies the above concept is the neuromelanin that energizes or activates a high level of consciousness. This unifies the divine wholeness and oneness within self. This is the marriage of two being one. This is the work of dark energy, dark matter consciousness, manifesting or demonstrating the power of a higher or divine nature or true self. Now, this is what's taking place when we begin to talk about male and female. And we're going to see now how this ties into the concept of ascension into higher realms of consciousness. It says, when we truly understand the Zachar Nikiva concept, one must comprehend that the feminine energy is always primary in dark energy, dark matter, or neuromelanin.
That's right.
The neuromelanin has to first perforate, puncture, bore, designate, appoint, or express to the Zachar memorial or remembrance of consciousness to respond energetically to the Nekeva. Key point. Key point. Now that's contrary to what we always believe.
That's
and
right.
As a result, this is why we had problems trying to understand, because we was trying to make the Zachar be the initiator of everything and be responsible for everything.
Now see, here it is illustrated in the Zachar is unconscious, but the Nikiva, the feminine aspect, is active first.
Absolutely.
Is active first.
Absolutely.
All right.
So now you see how it had to express to the Zachar to activate its consciousness, to respond energetically to it, not in opposition to it.
That's correct.
The purpose is to activate the neuromelanin, dark energy, dark matter, to demonstrate the power bequeathed to the unity of wholeness. And you notice I didn't say bequeathed to an individual or God. I said bequeathed to the unity of wholeness.
Okay.
This dark energy, dark matter, will avail itself to be utilized to penetrate in order to emanate into higher realms of ascension of consciousness. In this realm of enlightened awareness, an individual or people possesses the power to cause to come into existence the eternal or everlasting joy, happiness, wholeness of unity and oneness. With the age of enlightenment or age of reason that ushered in what is called the time of the Gentiles or European aberrant man, that was is influenced by dualism. This was the age known as philosophy. One of the deists or materialistic writers and thinkers of the 18th century from French Enlightenment. This was the unhindered proliferation of a mode of thinking, knowledge, and behavior that abominates and desolates, corrupt. This mode of thinking would oversee and promote the establishment of a corrupt religious perspective, manner of worship, economic system, political system, and social order, man, woman, children, and family. During this time of the Euro-Gentile Arab man dominion, the ungodly, the social fabric of every country has been plunged into confusion and corruption. Now, this had to happen because all this was part of the assimilated reality that we had to experience so that we would what? Live this in reality.
Hey.
So that we could correct the flaw. Continuing on. At this particular time in history of the simulated reality, that Euro-Gentile or Arab man would write himself into our true history as the original man. This would be an attempt to attribute our ancient alien wisdom to themselves as the progenitors of it through the contemporary language of dualism.
Hey.
Thus, within this age came theoretical science that replaced true science, the knowledge of the forever time, wholeness, unity, and oneness, the reality and the function of the cosmos universe. What we're saying there, that wholeness, unity, and oneness is the reality of how the cosmos universe functions. That is the knowledge of the forever time. It was replaced by theoretical science under the influence of the language of dualism. The dualistic nature of the Arab man of Europe created the need for philosophers, those who seek wisdom or enlightenment, scholars, thinkers, those persons whose philosophical perspective enables him to meet trouble with equanimity. And the definition of equanimity means evenness of mind, especially under stress, right disposition, balance. Now, this was the reason for Europeans to develop such concepts in philosophy. This provided a scholar, a thinker, with equanimity, evenness of mind, especially under stress, the right disposition or balance. We, the true human and scholars, thinkers, were to use these / our wholeness, unity, and oneness to perforate and penetrate into and through any troubled condition. This can be done by using neuromelanin consciousness, dark energy, dark matter, or our human or higher divine self. So any trouble when we are fully activated, ain't no trouble.
Absolutely, NASIK.
Okay, just about here. Hold on a second. Continuing on. When we speak of the alien code that our ancestors left for us, is a detailed blueprint of what to do when the earth comes to an end. This is the code that is sealed with the time cycle of the end of dualism or the influence of humankind or mankind, not the ecological earth. It's not the end of the earth, but it's the end of mankind under the influence of dualism. And see, so now what we have to understand here, it has nothing to do with pigmentation of skin, black or white. It has something to do with activation of this neuromelanin, this dark energy or dark matter that's going to be responsible for bringing man into wholeness and unity and oneness, or one who does not activate it, it will prevent him from what? Being part of the eternal cycle. The code was not written in a human language. Instead, it was written in an alien language that connects us to our past and to our emanation. Alien intelligence or language is nothing more than enlightenment, the opening of a unified realm of consciousness. So we don't have to be, when we keep hearing about alien this and that, alien that, all you got to do is look up the word alien.
Right.
It's a alien realm of consciousness of ascending to a higher state of being, of wholeness and oneness. Alien definition: differing in nature or character, typically to the point of incompatibility. Now we see where there's no compatibility in a relationship with the aberrant man.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So his whole nature is in opposition to compatibility.
That's right.
Which would bring about unity and oneness and wholeness. So we go to the definition: perforate, etymology, to bore through, to make a hole through, to make a line of holes, to facilitate separation. So now we can see that this is why, through this process of simulated experience, we can see now how the feminine energy, you understand, this Nikki Va caused the separation to take place so that this whole idea of being under this simulated reality as a reality could take place. And this is what you would call today deception in their world.
Okay.
To pass through or into, by or if by making a hole, to penetrate a surface. So penetrate, etymology, Latin, penus, inward, Latin, pentus, household gods. Household gods. This is penus, to nourish. Penus to nourish something. And we go on and say to pass into or through, to enter by overcoming resistance. Any resistance, when you activate this what? Profound power.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Any resistance.
Yes.
To gain interest into, to see into or through, to discover the inner contents or meaning of. And this is what we are doing today. We are going in and penetrating through our resistance. That mind that we were given, those perceptions, those concepts and ideas, we are penetrating through to see the content or true meaning of things, to affect profoundly with feeling, to diffuse through or into something, to pass, extend, pierce, or diffuse into or through something, to pierce something with the eye or mind, or with your consciousness, to pure consciousness, dark melanin, dark energy consciousness, to affect deeply the senses All of a sudden now we having our senses activated again. Or feelings. Finally, as we attempt to magnify this strange and seemingly confusing cycle the present human family has encountered, we will explain the most important concept we have been faced with heretofore. The concept of Zahar Nikiva consciousness of a memorial remembrance must be activated through the merger, marriage, egg and sperm, energetic consciousness uniting in a divinely conceptualization. This would provide the neuromelanin, dark energy, dark matter of the egg and sperm to penetrate, to make contact in an enfolding and unfolding process of producing the power of wisdom, unity, and oneness. So, in short, we could say that we have actually activated an element of that which was bequeathed to us by our ancient fathers, you understand, unity and oneness, and we now can see the power of it and what we can do once we are fully activated. So with that, Eitai, we close that portion out.
NASIK.
Yes, sir.
It's Michael.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark.
I just want to underscore what you just shared, because again, it is about understanding oneness and wholeness. That's why, you asked me to send you what I sent you through your email.
Right.
Now we got to share to the people and ask the question, why do we have 5 fingers? Why do we have 5 toes?
Right.
Why do we have 5 points to the body? Under our 2 feet, our hands, and the top of our head. So what is significance about this 5 that we have on our bodies? The 5 is the 5 biological kingdoms that this energy interacts with.
Okay.
These kingdoms are the cosmic kingdom, the planetary kingdom, the human kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the plant kingdom. We have these 5 fingers and 5 toes and 5 points to, again, show us that we are organically connected to all those kingdoms.
Okay.
Absolutely. 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 Excellent. Excellent.
Excellent.
Excellent. Excellent.
Well,
all right. Here we are.
NASIK, that was perfect, bro. And again, this I want to refer back to something real quick before I get underway, just to show you the perfection in how NASIK laid this out, where he talked about in the definition of penetration, actually the etymology, if you want to highlight that, where it talked about the household gods. All right.
Right.
So this takes us back again to the story of Jacob and Esau. All right. And
go ahead.
Jacob had finished serving under Laban, and he fled and took his wives, both Raquel and Leah, right?
Right.
And the scriptures, I'm reading now from the book of Genesis, the 31st chapter, and I'm going to read to the 22nd verse. We're going to cover this in detail a little bit later, but I just want to point this out to show everyone the perfection of what is occurring, what you're experiencing. Okay?
Talk to us.
And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him on the Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban, the Syrian, in a dream by night, and said to him, take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. This is very important. We're going to revisit this.
Go ahead.
So now see, Hosea 12:3 says the Lord has a controversy with Jacob.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because he had grasped his brother's heel.
Right.
But now you see Jacob, the Lord, protecting Jacob. And warning Laban, watch what comes out your mouth.
Right.
Watch what comes out your mouth.
Right.
And then Laban overtook Jacob, and Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount. And Laban with his brethren pitched in Mount Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captive taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and did not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth, with songs, with tabret, and I'd throw a party for you. And thou hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and daughters. Thou hast now done foolishly in doing so. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the God of your father, the ancestors, spake unto me yesterday night, saying, take thou heed, that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now thou, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? Here come these household gods now.
I hear it. Right.
And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid. For I said, peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever, listen, with whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live, before our brethren discern that thou is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into 2 maidservants' tent, so all of the females, and found them not. Then he went into Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them, and sat upon them, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. In other words, she was going through her cycle. And searched, but not found the images. And Jacob was wroth and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou hast hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of thy household stuff, or thy household gods? Which is referring to what? The reproductive power of women. She set on them. Set here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us. So this, when we're referring now to this word penetrate, again, I'm going to remind you that Kalia, when we were speaking on this yesterday, to the follow-up of NASIK's portion that we recorded, Kalia brought up the point of the penetration of what? The vagina, the yoni, in the creative act of what? Reproduction, physical reproduction. So this etymological root of penetrate that refers to household gods. Now we have another symbol. We have another ancient symbol from our ancestors. This is brilliant. And it is showing that we all are in what? The cycle of enlightenment, the process of enlightenment. Just wanted to point that out very quickly before we started. Another thing, if we want to grab the turning point, as I began, and go back to where we were as we ended the last session. And it was in again, the chapter, The Turning of the Tide. And in my book, it was page 38. I believe in NASIK's book, he was saying it was 28 or 22, I believe.
Eitai, what was that?
The turning point reference that we talked about yesterday. So I'm going to follow up, NASIK, where we ended up. In my book, it's the section on the yin and the yang.
Okay, right.
And in my book, it's on page 38 rather, and I'm going to begin right in the middle, the second full paragraph that starts the rational and intuitive are complementary.
Gotcha.
All right?
I got it.
I think it was 18 in NASIK's book.
Okay, it's 18 in your book, NASIK?
21. Hey, 21.
Oh, 21.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Hey, Kalai, you there, brother?
Kalai.
Maybe he stepped away, NASIK.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just trying to check to see where you're there. You got the right page.
Which page I stepped away?
Okay. It's that portion, Kalai, that we read yesterday from the turning point, the turning of the tide. It was page 21 in NASIK's book, page 38 in the version that I have. And Amari, you have which version? Okay, we got the same one, Amari. We got the same book. So we're at middle of the page 38, brother. We all good?
Okay.
Okay. The rational and intuitive are complementary modes of functioning of the human mind. Rational thinking is linear, focused, and analytical. It belongs to the realm of intellect, whose function it is to discriminate, measure, and categorize. This rational knowledge tends to be fragmented. Intuitive knowledge, on the other hand, is based on a direct, non-intellectual experience of reality. Experience of reality. Now, see, experiencing that which is real and not simulated.
Right.
Not simulated by a mathematical formula, not simulated by a language that is based on a mathematical formula.
Excellent.
It's based on a direct, non-intellectual experience of reality, arising in an expanded state of awareness. So again, we're talking about awareness now being the first step of consciousness that leads to enlightenment, that leads to rather realization, enlightenment, and illumination. It tends to be synthesizing, holistic, and non-linear. When it's talking about synthesizing, it's talking about syncretizing, taking that which appears to be what? Separate and distinct, and doing what? Noticing the sameness of it and putting it together in a holistic form, in a singular form.
Wow. Yeah.
You are with?
Eitai,
Uh-huh.
this is exactly what we are doing now, which according to the dualistic mathematical language, it appears that things are separate and that's just the way things are. And you have to live according to that. But what we're doing, we are seeing how these things synthesize and they work as a whole.
That's correct. And that is and what I'm pointing out is that is a process of the ascension. So if we are demonstrating the ability to do that, we are accessing the power of what? Wholeness and unity of consciousness. This is what we're experiencing. And this, it should be self-evident that this is real. That this is real. This is not being simulated. The experience that we are having within this small group is real. Is real. And we must recognize that first and foremost. So it tends to be synthesizing, holistic, and nonlinear. From this, it is apparent that rational knowledge is likely to generate, listen, self-centered or yan activity, whereas intuitive wisdom is the basis of ecological or yin activity. This is just what Machiel pointed out in his portion of the five-fold what? Elementary elements that we are all connected to. That we are all connected to. That this is a cosmic what? Ecology. A cosmic ecological existence. That is the true nature of reality. This then is the framework for our exploration of cultural values and attitudes. For our purposes, these associations of yin and yang will be most useful. So I just want to concentrate on the yang, Nasi. I'm sorry, on the yin rather, on the yin, and that we'll put the yang aside because the yang is masculine. It's masculine, and that aspect of patriarchal dominance and the unilateral focus on the patriarchal is passing away. It is in descent.
Eitai.
Yes.
Akmakiel again.
Uh-huh.
Now, let's show the family the reality of that, of what you just said.
This is what this whole teaching is about. I think I know where you're going.
Okay, because see, when on January 21st, 2017, displayed the feminine energy worldwide. She appeared on the planet.
Yes, she did.
You know, through all those women who marched against Trump.
Absolutely.
She appeared in her glory the 21st of February 2017. First time ever in human history that the female in her present biological existence appeared and showed herself as a force through her male counterpart. You know, so she is a sign, which we are in Aquarius. When we talk about water, talk about feminine energy. You know, she is a sign that the fall of that patriotic world is gone now.
That's correct. Absolutely correct. We're in perfect agreement. I know exactly where you're going. And you know, with this whole thing that we witnessed with Hillary Clinton, and the gatekeepers of the patriarchal system had to do what? Steal the election.
Right.
Steal the election.
Right.
And this is all, it is all evidence in even the simulated reality. Go ahead, brother.
Eitai, read the footnotes on that same page.
I got you. I'm going to give Machiel a chance to finish his thought here.
Oh, I'm finished.
Okay, very good. Excellent observation, brother. We are in perfect agreement. So before I get to that, Kalaya, I want to read what is under the yin. First and foremost, it is feminine. It is contractive as opposed to expansive. It is conservative as opposed to demanding. It is responsive, very important now, as opposed to aggressive. It is cooperative, it is intuitive, and it is synthesizing. The term holistic, from the Greek holos or whole, refers to an understanding of reality in terms of integrated wholes whose properties cannot be reduced to those of smaller units, whose properties cannot be reduced to those of smaller units. So we're going to be looking at things from what? An expansive I'm sorry, of from a holistic view, looking at things as a whole and speaking NASIK in wholeness and in unity and in unison. I'm going to show you all exactly how that works. Looking at this list of opposites, it is easy to see that our society has consistently favored the yang or the masculine over the yin, rational knowledge over intuitive wisdom, science over religion, competition over cooperation, exploitation of natural resources over conservation, and so on. Listen, this emphasis, supported by what? The patriarchal system, and further encouraged by the dominance of sensate culture during the past 3 centuries. Now, the past 3 centuries, where were we? We're in bondage. Has led to a profound cultural imbalance, which lies at the very root of our current crisis, and imbalance in our thoughts and feelings, our values, attitudes, and our social and political structures. Now, what we want to do, sister, this is for you, because this is your time. This is your time. This feminine energy is rising on the planet. Akmakiel gave a specific date where we saw it in the dominant culture, and we're going to continue to see this. But specifically to the sisters that are on the call, this is your time. We're gonna show you this. It doesn't mean that the brothers are not involved. The feminine and masculine energy is always in balance. But not see what we do, we view time as linear. So we view things in terms of ascension and descension. The rise of Esau is the fall of Jacob, right? So we view things from a linear perspective, but the feminine energy is always non-linear. So that means it is the feminine energy always observes what? Reality. Always observes in wisdom and in knowledge. We have not understood this. But this is the fundamental aspect of what is real. We just saw it. So I want to give context to what is occurring here, because we have exited the simulated reality, and we have entered into what is real. And I'm going to show you and give evidence of this. What you all have witnessed, especially over the last 3 days or so, is the cycle of life, the rhythm of life. We started out with George Clinton talking about the one in terms of music, correct? So we want to express these things in terms of energy, and to show you that, so that you understand without a shadow of a doubt that we are in this eternal cycle, that we are in this ascension mode. Matthew 16:19 says, "And I will give thee the keys to the kingdom of heaven. We got those. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Let me tell y'all something. We have that power right now. I'm testifying to it. We just have to recognize it, and we must become skilled at demonstrating it. We're ready to go now. You are with me?
Oh, yes.
Then he said unto me, therefore, every scribe. Now, NASIK, scribes have to do with what? Language. But we're not talking about the false language of the simulated reality. The simulated language was based on what? The alien language. The real language. So the scribes have to do with language and the functioning of language. So every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven now, not the kingdom of earth, the kingdom of heaven, because we've been given the keys. So the keys lie in language and words. I'm going to show this to you. But again, not the simulated language that we've been trying to use, but the true language, our true native tongue, which has always been our power. Every scribe which is instructed into the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and things old. Things new and things old. Let's press pause here. Those things are opposites. So we are talking about our power in operating and utilizing these keys of heaven that will do what? Bind things on earth, bind things in heaven, loose things on earth, loose things in heaven. Is tied to language, and it is tied to the dynamic interplay of opposites. Y'all got to hear me. And more perfectly, the synthesizing of what? Apparent opposites. We ready to do this now, y'all. I'm telling you.
Absolutely, Eitai.
So here's how this works. Here's how this works. In music, a call and response is a succession rather, of two distinct phrases. We talking about this language now. Usually written in different parts of the music. See, they appear as opposites, but musically, lyrically, sonically, they are one. They are tied together. They appear distinct, but they operate dynamically as one. Call and response. The call is the response. The response is the opposite of the call, is it not?
Okay.
And the call and the call is the opposite, is vice versa. The response is the opposite of the call, and the call is the opposite of the response. I'm getting ready to show you our power. We've always had it, but it was not activated. It's written in different parts of the music where the second phrase is heard as what? A direct commentary or in response to the first. So we've been doing these teachings. And now see, we had to get in harmony. We had to get in harmony. So individuals began to respond to what? The call. Now the call is from the ancestors.
Come on, Eitai.
And they want us to respond.
Okay.
Are you all hearing me?
I hear you.
Then we call back to them in the language that they understand now. Because now see, we weren't given the language. We were given what? A simulated language.
Okay.
And we could neither hear the call or make the response. Are you all with me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the second phrase now is heard as a direct commentary on the first. Y'all saw that with the last. I pointed that out last time. NASIK heard the call, and he responded perfectly in the language. Y'all had to see that.
Okay.
And the same way today, everything NASIK is saying, I'm going to respond to it. Why? Because I hear him. And I have the ability to recognize the language that my brother is speaking to me in. And it is the language, the unified language of our ancestors. Are you all with me?
Eitai.
NASIK, I don't know if your mic is on. Go ahead.
It's Machiel again. Also, you know, the language is the language of your inner voice, because what got us here on this conference call?
Yeah, we speak the same language, brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we heard the voice of truth through our journey, that was our ancestors.
That's correct.
You know, our choices were from the thought that came to our mind. I need to go to this class when I heard Benami or whoever was teaching truth for the first time.
Correct.
You know, absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So it's our inner voices that we hear within ourselves.
That's correct.
It's a voice.
That's absolute.
Absolutely correct, brother. So again, the second phrase is heard as a direct commentary on or in response to the first. It corresponds to the call and response pattern in human communication, not humankind, not mankind, in human communication. You all with me?
Yeah.
And is found as a basic element of musical form. This is why we went into the funk, George Clinton, such as a verse chorus form in many traditions. So we're talking about many traditions. They're gonna show you exactly which tradition they're talking about in the next paragraph. In sub-Saharan African cultures. Is this what we're talking about, family?
That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Call and response is a pervasive pattern of democratic participation in public gatherings, in the discussion of civic affairs, in religious rituals, as well as vocal and instrumental musical expression. So we're talking about these what? The dynamic interaction of opposites and what? Fusing or synthesizing or syncretizing apparent opposites into what? A unitary whole. That is our language. That is our language. It is the tradition that African bondsmen, this is slaves, and women brought with them to the New World, and which what has been transmitted over the centuries in various forms of cultural expression. So NASIK, it became a cultural expression rather than a language.
Right, I see. Right.
Because but this is the thing that is eternal in us. The language, it is our native tongue. It is our native tongue. And it doesn't have to do with any of the Genesis, what is that, 9 or 10, confusing of the language. Has little to do with that. Like NASIK said in an earlier teaching, he had mentioned that that's not the language, those are not the languages that we're choosing from, that we need to choose from. In religious observance, public gatherings, sporting events, even in children's rhymes, and most notably in African American music in its myriad forms and descendants, including soul, gospel, blues, rhythm and blues, rock and roll, funk. We talked about that in particular, and hip hop. Both African American women's work songs, sisters, African American work songs, and the work song in general uses call and response format often. And this is our power, this type of communication, this wave energy, call and response, call and response. That is wave energy. It moves, NASIK, in a serpentine fashion, in a serpentine manner.
Right.
The waveform is eternal. Is eternal. We all on the same page, family.
We're on the same page.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now here we go, NASIK.
Come on.
In the law, it is written, listen, with other tongues and other lips will I speak unto this people.
Isaiah 28, right?
And yet, for all that, they will not hear me, saith the Lord.
Right.
So now again, to put a fine point on Machiel's point about this inner voice, the inner voice is our higher self.
Mm-hmm.
It
Absolutely.
is our enlightened and illuminated selves, cosmically. Now see, when we emanate, that higher self is whole. It's unified.
Absolutely.
It's singular. However, when we emanate into the what's called the material realms, or the space within the space-time continuum, the unfolded wholeness or singularity, the enfolded rather wholeness or
Right,
singularity
right,
becomes unfolded as a linear continuum that we call the ancestors.
right.
You all must hear that.
Yeah.
But again,
Eitai said it.
okay, this is in response or just putting a finer point to the great point that Malkiel brought in terms of that
Okay.
inner voice. All right? The inner voice,
Okay.
we want to understand this cosmically according to our cosmic science. So we're going to speak again holistically all the time. So the inner voice is just our higher self. All right? It is
Okay.
it is us in our higher or what? Illuminated or enlightened state. It is holistic. It is singular. It represents the unity of being in what? An enfolded state of being. As we emanate or when we emanate it into the physical realm, the space-time continuum, the electromagnetic spectrum, however we want to put it, into the earth realm, the enfolded reality unfolds into a continuum that we call the ancestors. Are you all with me?
Right.
Okay.
So, language has always been, that has been our connection to power. It is the keys to the kingdom. And it is symbolized in the divine feminine. Now I'm going to show you the magician card because, family, we getting ready to tap into our power. We've already tapped into it. And we getting ready to do some divine black magic down here. So when we look at the magician card in the representation here, we understand that the number is 1. We see it on the bottom where it says
Right.
Il Mago, the magician, number 1. So it's letting us know that we got to put it on the 1. That the magic begins, NASIK, with unity, Echad.
Knock on, knock on.
Not just an intellectual understanding, saying with your mouth, oh, I and the Father are one. Oh, we are the gods of the Bible. If you don't realize that, if you're not enlightened and illuminated with that energy of thought, you're not going to produce nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
So we see the figure. It is actually a female. Y'all see the 2 heads, right? Or the 2 faces.
Okay.
It is the female that is in back. But the male, it's a combination. So we gonna praise the sisters because they're worthy of praise.
Absolutely.
But we're We not just gassing y'all up like that. What we are doing are recognizing that you are primary.
Yeah.
In any
Yes.
equation. It doesn't mean supreme or suprimary. It just means primary as being the starting point. You got to start somewhere.
Right.
So it's not to build the ego up. It is to build this power up and this confidence. We want you to have the confidence in this power, in your inert power, inherent power. It is, and so this is recognizing, we always recognize, even though we put him, the male can operate in it, but he got to know that he is operating with feminine energy. NASIK, with star power.
That's what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm talking about.
We have to know that that's what we're dealing with.
Right.
So with the feminine now, because we're going to concentrate on the feminine, I'm going to bring the male up as well. The representation in the, because they represent it two ways. But I wanted to show that first. To show you that the feminine is primary. But also, Akeem, we're going to be utilizing this feminine power as well. You all see it?
Okay.
So in one, see, this is balance now. We not just souping the you know, and gassing the sisters up, but we must recognize them, that they are always the initiators. They are always the ones that penetrate and are penetrated in the creative process. You are with me?
Okay.
So we see in the figure on my left, or the figure on the left of the screen, is the feminine with the male mask on. So it is always in the speaking of this language, even if a male is speaking it, it is the feminine energy that he is what? Accessing and expressing. And it is shown in this card too, because this is the male speaking through the female. You all with me? It's
Yeah.
it is you're going to see when we look at this palindrome, this term palindrome, that we can work with this however we want to work with it. But we have to understand that the feminine is fundamental, and that we are using opposites and combining them for holistic power. This is our magic. This is black magic.
Okay. Absolutely.
So the divine attitude must be masculine. Y'all remember in the movie What's Love Got to Do with It?
Oh man.
When Tina Turner was singing, I said, "Girl, you sing like a man." She had that aggressive attitude. Listen to Tina Turner. She got that aggressive, she got that male attitude. Are you all with me?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But she's very feminine. The divine union of opposites. This is power now.
Yeah.
The divine attitude is masculine, but the divine energy is what? Feminine. We must always recognize that. That's balance, y'all.
Okay.
That's dynamic balance. That is what they talked about in the call and response. That is true democracy.
Eitai.
Kang.
Markel again.
All right.
Us brothers, you know, we've been guided by the masculine energy prior to this knowledge.
Kang.
So now we have to understand that in order for us to have a relationship with the feminine expression, which is the female, we first have to love the feminine part of our inner selves.
That's correct.
Yes.
But
it's only relative.
That's right.
If you can't recognize and love the feminine energy within you, you can't experience a peaceful and harmonic relationship with the female outside of you.
And Markiel, not just with the female, with the 5 ecological, biological
kingdoms. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Now see, this is perfect, brother.
Man, no, this is it. This is it.
This is what's real, y'all. So in fact, male and female created he them. Male and female created he them. And blessed them and called their name Adam. In the day they were created, that they were created. So we see this dynamic interplay. Now again, we were never created, but we've taken on what? The form of sinful flesh in the material. So we have to deal with this apparent separation. But we've shown you evidence that melanated people have always expressed what? This divine unity.
Okay.
But NASIK, it was a cultural expression.
Cultural expression, yeah.
Yes.
But it did not have the power that was what? Inherent in it. So let us look at this, comprehending the secret doctrine, the divine union of opposites. Now look, I'm showing you all our power. Now NASIK brought out yesterday, it just brilliantly, perfectly, this nekiva, kava, this relationship through what? A holistic look at the language. We have been looking at it for years, decades.
And couldn't get it.
And couldn't synthesize it. Couldn't syncretize it. Couldn't put it together. And I'm laughing because, NASIK, I know I've experienced this with you.
I know.
We've been trying to put this together for years. So when I heard it yesterday, go look back at the film, the recording, and look at it. When I saw that he was doing it, I was just excited, and I said, here he is bringing it out at last. So what this did now see, that was a call. That was a call from the ancestors through you.
Absolutely, I hear you.
Yes.
Now I'm responding.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not me that's responding, it's the ancestors that's responding. That is
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Confirming that we are in this divine cycle of what? Communication. Divine communication.
Yes. Yes.
The language
Yes.
of wholeness. Now,
Yeah.
the back to the tarot cards, you see that the feminine is always represented as having the elements of power in both of her hands. All right? But you're going to see that when the male, you see the male seated here, is represented, he only has one of the elements of power in his right hand, and the other one is seen laying on the table. You all see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see it again. Let me show you. We'll see it again. The sister with both elements of power.
She
You
had
all
the
see it?
torch. She had the sword or the book. That must be the book he got.
And the male has got his hands behind his back, indicating that he has not yet received the power. The sisters have to get it first. And again, you see the male with the wand in his right hand, but the sword on the table. You all see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, see on the table.
All
So
right.
this Liberty got the torch and the book.
Right.
He got the torch and the sword, so he ain't got his power yet.
So the sister, the feminine, the divine feminine is going to always what? Be primary, rise first, penetrate through first. All right? And it is her job to first of all protect the male aspect of herself, and then at the proper time raise him up. You all seeing me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the central figure, we see represented below her feet the divine union of opposites, Zakar and Nikeva. Y'all see it?
Yeah.
Any creative, generative, substantive, operative, or destructive effort in the cosmos, in heaven and in earth, is ruled by the divine feminine. We must understand that. That is primary.
Yeah.
That is primal. That is the most primitive element. Primitive meaning first of anything in existence. And we have to recognize this. We've been in a different cycle, NASIK, where the patriarchal has been what? In supremacy.
That's the individual energy element that is destructive for both energy, both male and female, both the Zaka and Nikiva.
And it affected the cosmos. It affected all
Yeah.
5 areas, these
Right.
elemental areas, as Malkiel pointed out. We're clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to come back and take a closer look at all the symbols, but I just want you to notice that the male energy is not fully armed, but the female energy is always fully armed and ready. So the divine attitude is masculine, but the divine energy is feminine. So we're going to look at this secret doctrine. NASIK introduced and connected up from an etymological standpoint. In other words, he operated as a divine scribe in connecting what? Old and new. Synthesizing this idea of Nikeva, the star energy in Kava. All right, everybody with me? Do we remember that? If not, go back and look at the recording. So let us first, again, we're decoding this language now. So we're going to start with the first letter of the word Nikava, because the kava is what is important.
Yeah.
But we want to decode this thing. So we want to look at the nun in the word, or the word ne, or the sound ne in nekava. Everybody with me?
Right.
Okay.
So we're going to look at the nun, and this is going to instruct us further. The nun in the word nekava. Nekava. And that is the word, again, that is translated as female. So when we break it down, NASIK, we're going to see what the sisterhood did for us. We're going to see what wisdom did for us. The nun, the first nun, or the medial nun, the one that is the beginning, that is in the beginning of the word, means faithful one, who is bent or who bends voluntarily. Y'all got to see this now.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Mm-hmm.
this is in the sisters. This is in the sisters.
Right.
Right.
We gotta honor them. We gotta honor them. We gotta big them up,
Yes.
because they were the initial beginning in the point of the process. They knew it. And NASIK, they emanated into the beginning of this 300-year process, alchemical process. They volunteered, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers,
Yes.
they volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a choice but to follow, huh?
That's right. We had to follow them. They volunteered. They were the faithful one who, at the beginning of this brutal process, volunteered to bend, to subject themselves. They are the power, the beginning of the power of this universe.
Absolutely.
So, and NASIK, they are also the righteous ones who are upright. They bent down and then what? Stood up.
Okay.
You know when it was a time in the kingdom, the community, where it used to be, it was really a joke. Kalaj, remember, they said if you want to get something done, get to the Crown Sisters. If you want to get something talked about, go to the Crown Brothers. But now, here's the other part of it. I remember when Abba Ben he said, "Sisters, that you kneel, that the brothers may rise."
Come on now.
Yeah, so it's all a part of the nature.
That's
no
correct.
question.
Now you know the truth.
Yeah.
So in this first letter, it showed you what the sisters that emanated during that time did for us. They were voluntary sacrifice. We're going to show you through history. But it's divine opposites, right? Noon, the beginning noon, and then the final noon. Do y'all see it? And it is the joining together through the Vav of these two opposite acts. They had to bend down in order to stand up. And when they stand up and awaken, guess what, brothers? They wake us up.
Right.
But here NASIK, as the memorial, this is what we're doing now. We're obligated to do this. As the memorial, sisters, the brothers must remind you and the world of what you've done for us.
Yeah.
As a people. That is the card. That is the memorial. That is what we do. And we are concentrating that energy not outside to something else, to some god or some goddess. We're understanding the feminine energy that is in us all, but that you are representative of.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the divine interplay. This is the divine interplay. Continue. Go ahead.
Eitai, without our brothers and sisters in the South, we could have never made it.
Could never made it.
Because watch my grandmother, every time my grandfather come home, over the course of the night, she would put him back together, repair him for the next day.
I see. Is that not the history of the sisters?
No, that's absolutely correct in every sense of the word.
That's correct. So it showed their bending down. The noon shows their what? Bending down as the faithful one. NASIK, the faithful servant of Isaiah 53.
Absolutely, yes.
The feminine energy led the way. We ain't talking about no male Jesus Christ that did that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right.
Eitai.
Sisters.
Yes.
So this is
Eitai.
Oh, go ahead.
And again, you know, we got historical accounts from our ancestors that was a reality. Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth.
Yes.
You know, you name it.
Yes.
This is our history. And it is following an energetic pattern, NASIK, that was put forth with wisdom, with knowledge of forethought.
That was the feminine energy. Absolutely.
Yes.
So when we look at the word noon, right, it is the same backwards as it is forward. When we look at how the word noon is spelled, N-U-N, N-U-N. So and they take the word noon and then they make the word none out of it. Why? Because they are trying to, within the simulated reality, they are trying to, with the none, duplicate what our sisters have done. In their religious system. They can't do it.
Nope.
A nun is the member of a religious community of women, not a spiritual community, not an energetic community of women. Typically, one voluntarily living under vows of poverty, chastity, faithfulness, and obedience. The divine idea is not in no none, or not in the none that is part of a religious community, but the noon that is part of an energetic reality. That is
Eitai.
feminine energy. Go ahead.
Yes, and now look at this. You use the word none, N-U-N, and it, you look at it backwards and forwards. That's a feminine energy. But you also look at the word Ubuntu. You spell it U-B-U-N-T-U. See that UN is right in the center of Ubuntu, which is the spiritual aspect of it, because Ubuntu means I am because we are.
Okay. Hey, Malkiel, send that to me, brother, if you got it written down.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, I just finished a PowerPoint presentation on that. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send me that. We'll include that as part of this study, all right?
Okay.
This is beautiful, y'all. So
yes, it is.
We see again now, back to where we started, this dynamic interplay of opposites in the symbol of the yin and the yang. You all with me?
Yeah.
We see this dynamic interplay of opposites, or union of opposites, symbolized in the symbol, the yin and the yang. So let's talk about this faithful and voluntary free will sacrifice of the sisterhood. The cosmic historic bending of the knee. I want to say that the sisters, when you look now at the hangman that represents the sacrifice that was made, his head is enlightened. Even though this is a male representation, the halo is the evidence of the divine feminine energy that is what? Behind it all. You all made the connection.
You broke up. I missed it.
Broke about after verse 9.
All right, I'll do it again. When we look at the hangman, which represents the sacrifice, it is a man or a male figure. However, we see the halo around his head, indicating that divine wisdom of forethought and divine knowledge that is behind his act. And again, it's represented by the male, the mask on the male, the male mask, but the feminine being behind it. That divine wisdom and knowledge that is what? Initiating the action within history and within the physical realms. Everybody on point.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at the Willie Lynch letter. This is what the sisters volunteered for. Nature had provided this type of balance. We reverse the nature by burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping him what? All in her presence. So yeah, the brothers, NASIK, they were on the cross voluntarily as well.
Yeah.
But the effect the attention was on the sisters, all in her presence. By her being left alone, this is what she volunteered for. To be left alone, unprotected. Y'all got to see this now. With the male image destroyed. But now see. She hid them household gods. She hid the female image. She was sitting on it all the time.
But the point here then, except that occurred, then there would have been, you know, a break in the agreement of the flaw that existed that would all had to what? Go through the process so that at the end result, everything could be what? Acknowledged by both entities, so to speak, and then would unify and make it correct. You follow me?
Absolutely, NASIK. So we could do what we are doing now.
That's right. There you go.
With the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychologically dependent state to a frozen, independent state. This is all what the sisters volunteered for.
Yeah.
In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. This had to be done, y'all.
Right.
For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to do likewise. What have you got?
Right.
The nigger woman out front and the nigger male behind and scared.
Yeah.
So we see this process in the tarot cards. I want you all to pay very close attention to the numbers, because this is divine mathematics. This is not the simulated mathematics. This is divine mathematics. And it is very simple. A child can understand this. The hangman, the number is 12. The next card is death, the number 13. This is what was missing that NASIK gave us just the other day. The noon card is what? The 14th letter. And then the world card, where the divine feminine is fully equipped, it is the letter 22. So we say, well, why isn't it the letter 15? Wouldn't that make sense? No. We started out with the letter 12. I'm sorry, the world card is the letter 21. Did I say 22?
Yeah, you said 22.
I mean 21, rather. You look at the letter 12, flip it around and reverse it.
You got 21, huh?
It's the letter 21.
Yeah.
So it represents now the bending of the knee, or the what? The voluntary sacrifice. And then what? The woman, or the feminine energy, coming to its upright or righteous position as the righteous one, the ruler of the world. Do we see this?
Eitai.
12 becoming 21. the medial noon or the beginning noon here becoming and what? Connected to noon Sophie, which is noon in its upright position or that feminine energy in the upright or righteous position. Go ahead.
Eitai, now we see the wisdom in the Maya civilization.
Cain.
They told us that the end of the world was December 21st, 2012.
1221.
Yes, sir.
When the 12 turned into what? The 21. Go ahead,
And that brought in, that brought in what is known as the age of Aquarius, which is the water, which is the feminine.
The water bearer. When a woman gives birth, what does she? She is the water bearer. And her water breaks. And the waters of noon is the creative impetus for all things from the cosmos. We're going to get into this. Is this perfect, brothers?
Absolutely.
Sisters, is this perfect?
Not no sister, huh?
All right, very good. So a
Whoa.
palindrome is a word, phrase, or number 12 to 21 or other sequence of characters which reads the same backwards as it does forward. This is the indication of the divine dynamic union of opposites, again symbolized in the yin and the yang. Y'all got to see this now. Words such as madam, taco cat, race car, even sentence length palindromes may be written as a man, a plan, canal, Panama. It reads the same backwards as it does forwards. Was it a car? Was it a car or a cat I saw? Reads the same backwards as it does forwards. No X in Nixon reads the same backwards as it does forward. So we're talking about now what we just witnessed. Now, see, there's really no limit on how we create.
Right, right.
We just have to know that we are combining what? Things that apparently were opposite into what? A holistic form.
Okay.
And enlightenment came. And enlightenment allows us to see how we can work with this world of apparent opposites and do what? Create our own reality.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm telling y'all, we got the keys.
No question.
We got the keys now.
Okay.
So the value, numeric value of noon is 50. So when we see the word noon, we see 50-50. So when we was on the street and we saw a woman that we like, we would say, let's go half on a baby. Let's go 50-50. We didn't know that though we were using slang, that we were divinely connected to how these creative principles are interacted with. The union of opposites is the fundamental principle of divine creation and the demonstration of divine power. What we're doing here is just laying down the fundamental principles. We're going to get into exactly how to do this. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, or Kava, because she was the mother of all living. Again, Noon is the waters of Noon is connected with water. Malkiel connected with Aquarius, the water bearer. This is just a different allegorical symbol that is talking about the same thing. The noon, from the word noon, meaning to propagate, to increase, symbolized by the fish, which multiplies and multiplies innumerably in life containing seas, or in the waters. In the waters. The life-bearing seas are in all women. It is in all women. The final noon, or staff shape, reads Amen, Amen. But backward in Atbash, it reads Tet, Tet, which letter has come to symbolize not a snake, but a serpent in Jewish tradition, just as the noon was in ancient times. So, again, the serpent being symbolic of wisdom, this creative wisdom that is in all women. And again, the fish symbol representing the yoni, or the vagina, where the creative waters, on a physical sense, is created. It is the female delta, the double-pointed oval, the fish, and when the scriptures refer to the pearly gates, this is what it's referring to. The primitive tantric sexual object of worship, not object of worship, but veneration, was the yoni, also known as the female delta, the vulva, or the female sex organs. The primitive ceremony of baptismal rebirth often involved being drawn bodily through a giant yoni. Those who underwent this ceremony were called born again. So we're going to stop there, because I think we've covered the basics of what I want to cover.
Excellent. Excellent.
For moving forward and expanding this idea more. But what we've witnessed, what you all are witnessing, is real. We talked about the call and response. This this wave energy, this wave pattern energy, moving from new and from the old, from black to white, from darkness to light, from old to new, and doing what? Connecting these things, syncretizing these things. This is the energy. You must understand what you're experiencing is real in the now. We ain't got to wait on it. We got the keys, NASIK. We got the keys.
Yeah.
And we're demonstrating in real time that we have the keys. Saying this without ego. This is just being real. This is just being real. And if you are aware, if you are enlightened, if you are conscious, I don't have to say it. It is being confirmed in what? Your own experience. But we're just bringing it out
Sure.
that we're all clear and that we have a unity of thought, a unity of vision, and a unity of comprehension of what is going on right now. KNOW.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So that's my portion for now, Nasi.
Okay, and that's great. And I'll hold this other portion and I'll pick up here tomorrow. Eitai, you can catch, I'll tell you what it is. It's in Power versus Force. It's the introduction part. It's a continuation of what you were just talking about the significance of the response you get from the questions that you ask.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And
So,
where is this specifically in Power versus Force? So we'll begin.
The introduction part.
Okay. The introduction.
Right. Page 23, 23 in mine.
Okay, page 23. So we should
Right.
all read this. And where does it start, Nasi? Where's the portion start?
We'll start at the very top because you see one of the things that he says that all human endeavors has the common goal of understanding or influencing our experience.
Okay, all human endeavors.
And then as you go over to the next page, it said man's dilemma now and always has been that the misidentifies his own intellectual artifact as reality.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so all of that is very significant to where we at right now. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna make a note for everyone. This is what we should be looking at if you have the book Power versus Force, because we're gonna start right there tomorrow, Nasi. And
right.
You've heard the call. You give your response.
Right.
I would like to say something intuitively.
Okay.
John Coltrane, for me, you're talking about music earlier and tying it all in. John Coltrane has one piece, and it's on YouTube. You can listen to it. It's another intuitive input of music, call and response, et cetera, divine feminine. It deals with it. The piece is called Selflessness. Just the title ought to give you some idea. But he's a master musician, and you can find it on YouTube, Selflessness. And the selfless giving, the volunteer, all of that is in that. I don't know. I know it will make an impact. So if anybody gets a chance to listen to that. I've recently been listening to it. I loved it 50 years ago, but I've recently been listening to it again. And I thought about it when this teaching was going on.
Excellent. I'll be looking at that, though.
YouTube, Selflessness, John Coltrane.
Got it.
Particularly listen to that opening, one of the most beautiful saxophone solos ever, and then see if you can find that selfless giving.
Very well.
Excellent.
All right, we're going to end the recording right here.